anyways, and share screen. So I just wanted to firstly focus on the website design aspect. So we pretty much got all the branding information from yourself in our face. That means our password notes across the media, and also she's got access to the drive. But in
Okay.
terms of like stylistically, when it comes to the website, when we first sort of spoke, you mentioned about having that very like minimalist art gallery type feel
Yeah.
to the website, and then kind of like going through the examples that you gave. So Gabriella was one that you mentioned that you particularly liked.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of walk me through what specifically about this website do you like? Is it the negative space, the cleanliness, using that stuff that?
Yes, exactly that.
Okay,
Exactly that. So
okay,
even if you look at my old website, The Sequenist, there's a lot of negative space. It's just quite clean. Now, I think one thing I've been kind of thinking about lately, looking through other websites now that this is sort of front of my mind, is
cool.
stuff like the David White website, the poet David White, or like Loewe Craft Ball. A lot of these will have, so you'll see there's a lot of negative space on there.
You say David White?
Yeah, let's see, WHYTE.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah, I never remember. It should be David. Yeah, it should be that. I mean, so I like this intro kind of thing, that,
Okay,
actually it's changed. That's not what it used to be. So,
okay,
so what I quite liked before is having, instead of like the Red Leopard website, you just kind of launch straight in and they're kind of pictures of them, and it's, just kind of goes straight into what they do. I just like the idea for a sort of a more luxury kind of vibe in a website. And I mean, I'm not up on anything you disagree with, please happily say,
yeah,
because I'm not up on, website latest current kind of stuff. But I sometimes sort of like the idea of that kind of first landing page and being like a, click to enter, and then you have
okay,
the website. I don't know if that's dated and whether that's like kind of oldie
yeah. We
worldy.
we did this for a art foundation. What was they called? TLF Projects, I think it was. Yeah, the Philip Lobster Foundation. Yeah. So these guys had a like click to enter website here, and then it
Mm-hmm.
would kind of like zoom through, and you can explore their 2D gallery or 3D gallery. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what they wanted.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think the industry's advanced so much. Like this is like 4 years. This is four or 3.5 years ago. This one, so
Okay.
it's a bit of a dated practice. What the modern trend to do now is they actually did it on this David White website where you have that preloading screen there where it's that and then it goes in rather than
Right.
having a click to enter. That's the modern
Yes.
version of it.
Okay.
Um,
Exactly. I'm happy with that. There's
okay,
another one. Let me see if I can find it. There's another one that I think is just super cool. Let me see if I can find this one where it's similar. Um, yeah, I mean, this is just bonkers. So if you Google Loewe, Loewe, EWE,
LOEWE.
and then the word craft ball, CraftBall, and then click on that website. I mean, it's nuts.
Okay.
So, when it actually launches, then you get a page. It's taking a moment. So then you get this page that looks like there's movement, even though it's just sort of a, repeated kind of thing. And I think it's some sort of game or something, like it's for a brand. It's like a Spanish luxury
Okay.
brand. But it's just wild. I think it's just, I don't know, I like that beginning, just that open page where it says like Loewe Craft Ball, and it has something kind of moving before you enter. Just something like that I think could be good, just with the logo, with the background, like even my style capital with a,
Yeah, I'm trying to lose the game to actually get into their website. Um, what does this firm actually do? So I'll be asking because so far it's the ball
it's a
game.
Spanish leather, like a luxury leather goods company. So they make like handbags and boots and stuff like that.
Right, I would not have got that from their website. I
No,
had
me neither. I don't know what craft ball is. I think it may be some gain, I don't know, maybe some like customer engagement kind of thing, but it doesn't really
Okay.
seem to have a lot to do with their brand. But I just think that homepage, like, the loading is a bit tricksy with all the,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scissors and whatever. That's a bit crazy. But I think that just just that first page where you just kind of have the brand sort of suspended a bit, I
Mhm.
think that looks amazing.
Okay.
Just
So
throwing ideas out there.
yeah, yeah, no. So if I go back to this, I'm gonna go back to the craft ball.
Yeah, I could just click on that and just let it load, but then don't enter the site. Just kind of
Yeah.
watch the homepage kind of thing.
Oh, hang on. I'll probably have to go on incognito. Bear with me. So you kind of having that brand suspended there before the
Yeah,
enter.
exactly. I don't need all the like, scissors and soap and
Yeah.
watermelons and stuff around it. But I just like the idea that, you have, I don't know, just it's movement, but it's not annoying movement. I don't know. It's just sort of slightly suspended. I just like that idea just to throw out there.
Okay. Okay. And so this is more of a like creative, fun type feel.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go back to this one here and I hit refresh, this is very much like a high-end luxury, like artistic, like style, where
Yeah.
it's just got the signature and then there's a low bar like that, and then you go in. In
Yeah.
terms of stylistic preferences, do you
Yeah.
want something that's a bit more fun and creative, or do you want
Yeah.
something that is a bit more, let's say, like high end and like artistic, like this version?
Do I just in preparation for this, I actually have three words written down. So if I have
Oh,
like
go
kind of
on.
three words to define the brand, the first thing is luxury, because that really
Yeah.
has to be, given what I'm charging and where office space is, and my whole vibe, and what I want to be doing. I think luxury is kind of the more important thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is smart but not boring. So kind of, it needs to be educational, or a little bit educational, maybe not so much the website, but certainly what I do, the brand in general, needs to be a bit
Okay.
educational if I'm
Okay.
going to be doing like talks and stuff. And the third word that I had down was entertaining. So I think what you're already kind of
Okay.
running up into is kind of saying that I really like that like exuberance, or like where luxury kind of meets fun, or where um like kind of elegant quirkiness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that
That
does.
kind of vibe. It needs to be more on the elegant and less on the quirky bit. So if I have a few interesting little bells and whistles on the website, or like one or two things that are interesting, fine, but I don't want it to feel like a library or a morgue. I don't want it
I
to
understand.
feel while I love the negative space and that really artistic feel, and I think that's great. I would certainly like to have that, but maybe either, I mean, the color scheme is already quite playful. If I'm
Yeah.
doing sort of turquoise and red, that's already very playful. So maybe,
Yeah.
just if a home page is a little bit um, interesting, let's say, and then once you enter, then it's luxury. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Just
Or if there are
mulling
just some
that over.
elements in there, a few elements in the site, like where, I want luxury to be the main thing. But I think from a branding perspective, what I always felt from blogging is the fun element also makes it a little bit more accessible to people. Let's say you're a lady who's just had a baby and you don't feel your usual glam self, or let's say you've been out of work for 10 years, or let's say you're older and you've like gained a little bit of weight. I don't want this website to be where people go, oh my god, this is so aspirational, I should never go and see her, because it's going to be like, standing naked in front of Anna Wintour. I don't want to be judged
Yeah.
and have her pick apart everything that I'm doing wrong. So I think that's why that like little playfulness needs to be in there, because it makes it just a little bit more approachable, a little bit
Yeah.
less scary, kind of.
Yeah. And if I can just extrapolate on that playfulness. So when I think of again, this is from a man's perspective
Yeah.
who's just turned 30. So you're going to have a much more grounded perspective than me. But when I think of like fun and like playfulness and almost like entertaining and a little bit creative, I immediately start to think of like polka dots and like Betty Boop, where it's like, it's that polka dot dress. It's very, very fun. It's very, very creative. It's animated. And I wanted to get from your perspective, is there any particular clothing elements, like I mentioned, like polka dots are quite fun. Is there any
Yeah.
particular clothing elements that you would deem as quirky or fun that we can really kind of like play off? I'm not saying that we're going to litter the whole design with polka dots everywhere, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
sure.
getting an understanding of if there's any playful elements that relate to women's clothing that, yeah,
Yeah.
that we could focus on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, certainly, my previous blog, The Sequinist, sequins are all about fun. You don't have a terrible day in sequins, I used to always say. If you have them on, like, even if it doesn't make you feel better, like sometimes even if I'm wearing sequins, I kind of forget because they're just sort of, but I will get stopped on the street by so many people saying, I love your skirt. Or like the other day, I was unpacking some groceries and I had on a gold sequin skirt with a coat. And the guy walking past my driveway was like, I love the skirt, like it's about that kind of interaction and that kind of playfulness and not taking itself too seriously kind of thing. So yeah, I think polka dots are not a bad um are not a bad way to go. In fact, there is let me just find her name. There's an artist who I have stuff by, um, Kusama. I don't know if you know who Kusama is. So if you let me find a page that shows that. If you Google the word or her name, Kusama, Kusama,
Kussa, did you say?
Kusama,
Kussama, yeah.
and then like Louis Vuitton, Vuitton, and that is polka
Okay, yeah,
dot.
it's got,
So
yeah,
I
that's
actually
fun.
have that bag.
This
So
is,
when you,
it looks very fun.
yeah. So I don't have that one that's 9,000 pounds, but I have a different one. But I have yeah. So this kind of thing is sort of like elegant and artistic and kind of pulls in that vibe that that I really like about art and investment together. So she's sort of a world renowned artist, has exhibitions of the place. You might have seen she did those infinity rooms that were all the mirrors and the lights. So you walk in and you kind of look into all these mirrors and you just see lights
Yeah, that does
disappearing.
sound familiar, to be
Yeah,
fair.
so that's her. So she's at the Tate a couple of years ago, I guess. But yeah, so that's her thing. It's like sort of multicolored, very large polka dots, and she does all these
Okay.
like crazy pumpkins and things. So that is exactly it.
And question on this then. So this kind of draws me a little more towards the branding side of things. It'd be really helpful for Amelia. But with the sequinist that you had previously, you mentioned the actual photograph sequins that you put in there. So you kind of
Yeah,
have like sequins as like a playful element there. And then when we were
yeah,
talking about your existing logo, the one that you supplied here,
yeah,
you mentioned about having kind of like that North Star in there. And so
yeah,
in terms of creating iconography or in terms of creating like, how do I explain it? It's like characters for the brand, as it were. How Talk to me a little bit about how open you are. So what I mean by that is, let's take the example I bring up, like Betty Boop. There we go. So, not even what I had in my head. Polka dots. Yes, with this, where it's like, this is very, very cartoony. I think
yeah,
this would not be associated with your
yeah. It's
brand.
too cutesy. It's too, it's
Yeah,
cutesy
yeah,
and retro, and that's like neither one of those are really
yeah.
quite my vibe. Yeah,
Exactly. But the thought of having a figure to like this, like a character, would you be
hmm
open to having like a character tied to the brand, or you want it more? The brand is not necessarily going to be like a character or a figure, but we're going to have pattern work. So, for example, the polka dots that we just looked at there with
yeah,
that creator, we go polka dot sequins.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through your thoughts around that, just so we can capture that.
Yeah, I wouldn't really want like a cartoon character, any sort of
Hmm.
iconography. Like I really liked my sequins on the sequinist. And the reason why I'm starting something else, Style Capital, is because, you know, I just think because I'm focusing on a lot of corporate people, and the sequinist is really much about me, whereas this website is really about my services. This is about the client, what I'm doing for other people. And you know, your average corporate person who works at, say, JP Morgan, you know, is not going to be like, oh, yes, I'm going to go to someone called the sequinist and get all sequined up to go to work, because they just won't and can't. Right. So that's why I kind of had to like do a little bit of a pivot there. That said, the reason why I had them put the North Star into that logo is that it's just been a weird symbol that just kind of keeps coming up for me. And I have some jewelry with that in it. And I like the fact that it's not like a traditional star, like a children's star,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
not like a sequin, but it still kind of has the same connotation of kind of like a spark, a brightness. And like I
Yeah.
like the fact that, you know, if I'm working with a client, that I'm not sort of telling them what to do, but I'm just guiding them, you know, in the way that a North Star does. And I think, you know, what may be more effective in that logo that I sent is where it says, I think the where the star is on the A's, it may be nice for that sort of horizontal line to be taken off of the A, and for the star to just be suggesting you know, instead of
Yeah.
having,
Yeah.
see what I mean? Like it may just look a little, I don't know, it just may look a little sparklier that way and a little bit less like part of a letter. But I kind of like the idea of potentially stars, like large, small, maybe different colors so that it looks like a sparkle thing. I have
Okay.
a business card. Let me go get it because it's not here. I'll be 2 seconds. Let me
No
go check
worries.
this. So the business cards that I had for Red Leopard, I'll stick them here so that you can see. So the front, not drop
Cool.
it. The front
Yep.
is like this, so it's all quite clean and it's red foiled, and the back
Leopard print.
has this like foiled kind of leopard printy thing on it.
Yep.
And it kind of reminds me a lot, sort of coincidentally, of that little scattered sequin logo that I had on the top of my website. So, maybe something like a sort of a scattered, a loose scattered star pattern or something. I don't know, maybe
Okay. Yeah.
because
No,
it's not
that's
quite a
good.
polka dot, it's not, but it's still, still polka dots and stars, sort of,
No, I
sort of
understand.
that
Don't
same
don't
vibe.
worry. Yeah, no, I understand. Okay. So other than stars and sparkles, is there any other elements that you're particularly keen on that we haven't discussed?
I mean, other than, just a lot of that kind of negative space and it looking
Hmm.
very artistic. And I think, there probably needs to be negative space, especially if there is a lot of
Yeah.
color, the photographs. So my friend who's doing the photography, is very good. It's like a branding photographer. So I think, once we come up with a little bit, I'd
Yeah.
like to be able to have specific pictures that fit into the website, how we want them, and have her take kind of what we want rather than, because that's what I did blogging. Once you have the pictures kind of tell the story and you write the post around the pictures. But, for some of this, there may be specific things we want to capture in a photo that, I can have her take. For instance, one idea was, because I think when we mentioned, when you and I talked, I said, I often feel like when I'm in the finance world, I'm very much the fashion person. And when I'm in the fashion world, I feel
As a
very much
finance
like a
person.
finance person, because I just kind of think like, what are they talking about? Some of the ideas. And, I think, I'm sort of like split brain that way. And so I thought it might be effective if we could take a picture where we kind of show that, where, maybe it's a picture of, shoes or standing from the backside and a pair of heels. and one half of the background is finance related, either looking like I'm on a trading floor or like columns outside the Royal Exchange or something like that. And then the other side is very fashion. That background is sort of like, in a store or, with clothing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, to be fair.
Because it just
Like
kind of gives the whole impact of exactly what I'm trying to do, like in one photograph.
Yeah, you can almost have like one side like one kind of the square, and then one side you can have like a high-end department store where you can kind of like Harrods, Selfridges, that type of style. No, I think that's good. So it's kind of like you've got a foot in both avenues.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great concept. So your photographer, what you'd need to do is, well, I mean, we can, if you just do it on a white screen, we can actually Photoshop in either side. But yeah, I think that's actually going to work better. So she needs to get a photo with you from the back, with obviously taken from like the hills, against like a green screen, basically, so that we can have like completely clean background, and then we can then make that imagery there. Yeah, no, I think that'd be absolutely fine. So yeah, so you can just get you some shots with like plain white background. She'll know she's a photographer, so she'll have her own screens that she can utilize, just so that we can edit those photos. That'd be really, really helpful. You just give me a bit of an idea, maybe. But I almost feel like that could be a potentially a centerpiece, either for the homepage or the about page. I think that's a really good concept that we could develop more on. Okay. Sorry, the gears in my brain are whirring as I'm taking my notes. Okay. Okay. And then just going back to the color scheme, I know you said obviously you've got your red and turquoise at the moment. In terms of your service lines, so I know when I took my notes, where are we here? We've got, so essentially for individuals, for companies, about, home, and then obviously contact. With the for individuals and companies page, what we typically do with clients is we'll have like accent colors. So you have your primary colors. Let's say primary colors are the turquoise, the reds, and then you can have like your black, white, gray. Typically, we sometimes have accent colors for like subdivisions or other service lines. Is there any other colors other than red and turquoise that you are particularly comfortable with?
Black and white for sure. And maybe something like, I mean, I love orange, but I don't think it's going to read so well with the red in there. Maybe something like yellow, like a yellow that works well with those. And I also understand that on, with a business card, it's fine to have, sort of my dark, not super dark, but, a richer, let's say, turquoise. But on a homepage of a screen, we may have to kind of dial that back a few tones and make it lighter just for readability purposes. I'm totally cool with, with all that. I get
I wanted to bring up this website in specific. So she uses red for her menu, which again, you can barely see.
It's hard to read. I agree. Especially on that really dark background there. I know it's temporary. She just has it up for the beginning of the year. It's not usually there. But it is very hard to read. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go into like the earrings one that she's got, I mean, again, it's like a very, very poor color. Like this should be used more of an accent. And then what she does is she uses the blue turquoisey style as like the solid backgrounds there. And for me, I would be heavily advising against this. Because the first thing is, if this is a white background, these images would pop a lot better because the white boxes wouldn't stand out. And when you see like a white box, it immediately screams like pretty low end.
I agree. Totally
prices that she's charging aren't low end. So again, you're killing the brand. So with the turquoise and the red, what I would love to do in terms of design is move them to accent colors opposed to being like primary colors like you see here. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I agree with you because, like I was saying, on a business card, I had one set printed and they used kind of like a too dark, sludgy duck egg blue color, not even turquoise. And then the red that they used against it was kind of too light of a red. It was a foiled red. and it just doesn't work. And I think even on the page that you're on right now for Marie Helen's website, even at the top where it's against a fairly light blue, because it's so small, you can't read it. Like it's hard
Yeah.
to read.
Yeah, she's got
So
blue on blue, and
yeah,
then there's also
it's
another
just a
blue
mess.
there. Like and then
It
you
gives
go
it a
down to the
market
cookie
stall
policy,
vibe.
and there's more blue there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just gives it a market stall vibe. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
look high end and elegant. And I know why she's done that. When you go into her stores, the whole store is like walking into like a blue cocoon. Like everything is blue. So I'm sure she's probably trying to bring that over into the website. But it could be so much nicer, with a
yeah,
more gallery, like lots more negative space, and indeed wider. So I'm very happy not to, even though those are kind of my brand colors, I don't need them everywhere. I
yeah,
just need,
yeah,
even if it's a stripe at the top, a turquoise stripe with a large logo. My previous logo at the Sequinist was quite large. I think this Marie Helene de Taille logo at the top of this page is way too small anyway. But yeah,
yeah. I
I
think
agree.
with this, so again, I appreciate this isn't her design meeting, but with this, what I would like to do is, as you scroll down, opposed to showing the full logo, then you have like a logo, it shrinks down, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like I can show you an example. If you go on our website here, you see we've got the full logo there,
Yeah.
but as you scroll, you see it shrinks down to the smaller
hmm
version. And so with
I
your
see that.
branding, I would like to implement something very similar to that,
Yeah.
because it allows you to have a lot more real estate on the page.
Yeah.
And by the shrinking of the logo, it's a very minor touch, but it somehow makes it feel higher quality, the website.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I'd like to implement that for yourself as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Sure. Happy
okay,
with
good,
that.
good. I'm glad. And then the other one I went through with Gabriella Hearst. I've got this one down here as one that you particularly like.
I mean, I
I know.
just love, I think it's because like I love her as a designer. Her font is, I told you I'm like a complete font geek, and that font
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
the best font I've ever seen anywhere. So, I had to have that font. It's not even an option. Like that was the only one that I really wanted. Um, and I do like her use of negative space. I don't think it's perfect. I think the
mhm,
pictures, next to each, some of them don't really make any sense. Having one outside and one that's kind of an indoors thing, like it, it, I don't think it's perfectly done, but this is her website is one that changes all the time. Every time she writes a new article or when new collection launches or whatever, it will change a lot. Unlike mine, which will be fairly,
yeah.
except for a blog section, will be fairly permanent. But to be honest, it doesn't even look like right now like it did a couple of weeks ago when I thought it looked
Okay.
better. So
Because I was going to ask you a question on this. So she's very much gone for a columned approach, which, in our opinion, is a bit outdated. Doing a
mhm,
singular column going down.
yeah,
And so I wanted to ask you. I mean, I'll show you this client, and again, it's not really relevant to yourself. They're in the finance industry, but with these guys, we do use negative space, but we go full screen.
yeah, I
And
love
so,
that. I much prefer
okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah,
good, good. Because yeah, I was going to say, like, we do use the negative space, but you can see here, like, we brought in their brand colors,
yeah,
but we've pacified them, so it makes it a bit more muted. This is because
yeah,
they're trying to be corporate, so this is
yeah,
be a corporate website. Obviously, yours
yeah.
would be different, but I just wanted to confirm you're happy with us doing full screen, but using
Yes.
negative
Yeah,
space still.
totally.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
that's what
great.
I'm used to. I mean, that's really what I'm used to from a blog as well. You have like your homepage where you have,
Yeah,
slightly smaller squares on it, but once you open into the page, everything is
yeah,
full screen and single column. Yeah,
yeah,
very happy
cool.
with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because when I was going through the examples, and I appreciate this is one that you said that you didn't think was particularly good.
I don't think
Um,
she's particularly good, but I hadn't really spent a lot of time on the website, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just noticing going through all of the kind of examples we discussed, everyone's gone for like that column approach.
Mm-hmm.
And before discrediting it, because I think it's a bad idea, I wanted to
Yeah.
just put it to you to say, like, obviously all of these are going down a column route.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to explore?
Yeah, no, totally
Okay,
fine to switch that. Another one that I meant to tell you the other day that I didn't, I made a note to show you,
yeah,
is there's a lady in the States who has a very similar business. Her vibe could not be more different from mine. She has very different
okay,
kind of client base, but she's super successful. And I thought you should have a look at that one as well. It's chaotic, it's a little bit of a mess, but there is there is a style. It's her color scheme. Like this Y website is very much my color scheme, and it is the website is it's just one word, created, colorful, colorful spelled the American way with one
Oh, right, yeah.
C.
I always make the mistake of using a U when I spell color.
Yeah,
Creative, I'm not coloring, colorful.
colorful. Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
So it's not really, my vibe at all, but it's just, and it just goes on and on and on. There's like, pages and pages and pages and pages of information. And I just thought I'd throw it out there as a data point. I like the fact that it's colorful, at least, people are
Yeah.
wearing lots of different colors and there are lots of different clothes in it. But yeah, it looks like she's got columns as well.
Okay.
Different colors.
And
anyway,
can you see one thing that she's doing here? This is something we discussed, where she's got the client case study section.
yeah,
And she's explaining light spring, deep winter, light summer,
yeah,
and that was kind of what we were discussing there. So I think she's
exactly.
actually taken the right approach here. She's messed up though in that she's not built these out as case study pages. They're just
Yeah,
static imagery.
yeah,
So yeah, we'll do better than that. But
yeah. It'd
just
be
what,
better to have fewer of them, but more fleshed out and educational,
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
like look at
exactly,
this,
yeah.
look at this, look at this. Yeah,
This is actually a very good website that you brought up, because this website is actually two different styles that you're seeing. So if you go to this section here, this is very much a minimalist, clean style,
mm-hmm.
using that negative space, and it's got a bit of like an artistic breakup of the sections. And then what she's done is she's bringing her brand color here through like the underlining.
Yeah,
So with this style here, it's kind of like a conflict to the style that we've got going on here, where this isn't a minimalist style. This is very much like a creative, like entertaining style.
yeah,
So I wanted to get your opinion on this. Is quite a fun style where she's got the moving GIF, she's got iconography board, she's got overlapping layers, pops of color in there, versus this style here, which is kind of like a more of a luxury styling.
yeah.
What's your opinions between the two? Like, what's your preference?
I think that the bottom one looks, even though it is luxury, it looks like many other websites.
Mhm.
It looks like Net-a-Porter. It looks a bit like the Gabriela Hearst one. Just having like the squares and all of that looks. Yeah, it looks like a lot of other websites. I don't love the top part, but it's the first intro thing. But I think that it, from a branding perspective, it really gets her brand and her vibe,
Yeah.
because she's the leader of the company. She's the CEO of that company. It gets that across very easily. Like, I don't think that the imagery that she's used is great. I do like the GIF one. I think the GIF one's quite good. I probably lean towards a more gallery artistic kind of style, though, than something a bit tricksy like she has at the top.
But you do like the injection of character, and you do
Yeah,
like. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think essentially a hybrid between this is like kind of like full send on like
yeah,
creativity.
yeah,
At least what I'm picking up, that you'd want kind of like a hybrid between this is like a very clinical style, and that's a very creative style.
yeah,
You'd want kind of a bit of a hybrid to that, where you've got a clinical style, but it's injection of your personality in
yeah,
there, whether that be through, I don't know, had like a few polka dots scattered about, or the stars, or when we come up with those branding elements for you to
yeah,
bring those sections to life.
yeah.
Okay, right, I'm fine with that then. And then just in terms of the homepage, so for us, one of the key things when it comes to the homepage is bringing in all of your elements of the website. So we always say like the homepage is basically your shop front that's going to direct people to the specialist areas that they need to get to. Yourself, obviously, we know that you're catering for individuals, you're catering for businesses. We're going to have a about you, because you are the brand, and then obviously you're going to have like your call to actions and whatnot.
Yeah.
But is there anything that maybe you'd love to see on the homepage that we haven't discussed? So whether it be a quick guide to styling for different seasons, or anything at all that you've maybe thought of that might be a good feature for the website?
One that I thought would be good is something that I use in a presentation that I do, and that just basically shows it shows a spring green, an autumn green, a winter green, and a summer green, or actually two of them all together, or maybe it's three. But it basically, when you look at that one image, even someone who's not interested in color or doesn't really understand it that much, they can really see the difference between the warm greens and the cold greens. And the reason why is because green is kind of made up of yellow and blue. And so either it's a green with more yellow in it, or it's a green that has more blue in it. So I think kind of that immediately, teaches people very quickly, just in one page, one slide, how colors are either warm or they are cold. So I think that, having that on there could be a discussion and kind of, maybe part of the call to action to figure out, which are your best greens or which are your best blues, because, blues are either warm or cold. So I thought about that. I also thought about, whether it would be useful having like a little bit of a philosophy about style or philosophy about fashion page on there as well. Just kind of, again, a little bit like when someone comes to me, it always veers far from just necessarily what is about their color and what is about their style. We often go into other things, like they'll say, oh, do you know what? I really could use, an amazing facialist, or I really could use a good dermatologist. Do you know someone, or do you know someone who's like really good at microblading because my brows are a wreck or whatever? So a lot of what I sort of give for free in my consultations that I do with people is just kind of my little black book, and because I'm old, it's a good one. And I think, I've tested out lots of things and lots of people, and even from my blogging days. So I think having that kind of little extra value, like, yes, I'm going to do your color, and yes, we're going to go dig deep into your style, and a lot of style that something I'd written down earlier that I wanted to get across. So a lot of, in my styling, I'm not trying to make people clones of who I am. That's not at all what it is. My goal is really to peel back a few layers of the onion to see who you really are, and to dress that, and to find things that like really make you feel and look amazing, so that you really feel super authentic. It's not about me going, oh, you need to wear this and you need to wear that. So I thought, maybe something around the philosophy of what styling and color analysis can do, and that it is very psychological. There's a lot of very Jungian kind of questions we go through when we're determining people's style. So kind of in addition to like an about me, styling individuals, styling corporates and doing consultations with them, maybe a little something that's kind of education stroke philosophy. What we call that, I don't know, but maybe something on there just so people can see it a little bit. And then obviously the case studies page.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or maybe some of that philosophy can be worked into the case studies page. I'm not here to just, do this.
No, I think both is the honest answer. I think with the case studies page, one thing that I was saying to you before was the more detail, the better. And so I think what'd be really good is, let's say one of the ladies.
Sorry, that's my door. Can you give me 1 second again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold that thought. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back.
That's all right. I was just going to say, like, I actually think the idea that you talked about showing the different greens, so that as a concept, I think is great, because we're here to showcase your expertise. And I think I mentioned to you before about the Google update called EEAT, where we want to showcase your expertise, and that's a great way to fill that from an SEO perspective as well. But going back to the case study pages, I think one thing that we could do that'd be really cool, and I think really enhance the case study pages, is exactly what you said, in that we break out their colors. So let's say one of the ladies is a light summer, let's say, is you actually breaking out the colors and showing like why these colors work better because she's geared towards light summer. And then you can also show like, if she went darker on this green, darker on this, whatever it may be, this would actually fall more in line with, let's say, I don't know, an autumn, which wouldn't be geared towards her because so you've shown what we've ended up with and something that's similar that we're avoiding because of X, Y, Z. And that's just really going to showcase your expertise because a lot of people, I mean, again, I'm probably a very poor example, but if I saw that and I'd be like, I would immediately think, oh, blue is my color. I can just wear another blue. Whereas clearly seeing that, oh no, you're only geared towards a dark to medium blue is much different towards a dark navy. So I think from a user perspective, I'm like, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about because I would have just thought something as simple as that.
It's hard also for probably copyright purposes, but sometimes if you have like using celebrities, not because of any other reason than they're just someone that everyone knows. You know, one thing that I have in my presentation, it's not on a website, so I don't have to worry about the copyright so much, but I have a picture of Beyonce wearing a silver dress and wearing a gold dress. It's exactly the same dress. And even with kind of, you know, tweaking lighting and tweaking makeup and tweaking everything, and I'm sure the photos have been retouched, even with all that, you can still see that she's so much better in the gold one than the silver one. You know, even men who know nothing about style or fashion can see it. So, I think sometimes having those very clear, obvious examples on there are good. Maybe hard, like I said, it may be hard to put on a website simply because of copyright issues or whatever. I don't know.
No, I mean, I can pull up our royalty free like stock libraries and see whether they're included. But I think what you just said there is a very good point that we could turn into like how it works section. So you're going to take the user through a journey in that they're going to go, okay, first we're going to start, and then let's say, I don't know, we're doing the colors against the skin. How it works is we then go from there to here to here, and it kind of like shows them the journey that you would take with relevant photos or infographics along the way. That they know what to expect and know the value that they're getting as well. I think that'd be an important component, which kind of leads me on to my next question. In terms of the content being written, obviously from a design perspective, we like to design with, so if let's say you've got 1,000 words for the homepage, a design for 1,000 words is a very different design to 300 words, if that makes sense. So in terms of the content, what's kind of the ETA in terms of getting the copy put together for the core pages that we discussed that you're going to be happy with? I mean, it doesn't have to be bang on. It just needs to be like rough framework, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'd say I can probably get some stuff to you after this weekend, I would imagine. I have this Friday off. I was supposed to be moving into the property this Friday, but I'm not. It's going to be delayed a week. So hopefully I can get a lot of that cracked out. I would say that, probably less is more on these kind of things. Like when I go to this the Created Colorful website, when you click on her different sections, like the color analysis or about, and there's so much information on there. Like she just kind of goes on and on and on, and on some of them. And some of these things you click on, then it leads you somewhere else, like a real kind of rabbit warren of a website.
You're not really taking it in at all. You're not guided through a process there at all.
That's it. It's just a lot. I saw a website the other day of a lady who was I think she's developed some kind of like skincare something, but she used to be a scientist, and on her main page it has a picture of sort of like a sculpture, like a statue with this like a light cord around it. And as you scroll down through her page, this light cord kind of goes through every page. As you keep kind of scrolling down, the light cord leads you to another box of information, then somewhere else, and it kind of a journey. It kind of takes you somewhere. But at least it's clear that you're going from point A. She had this background, she did that. This is what she studied, then this is what she developed. Whereas this Created Colorful thing, for me, it almost feels like maybe there was an existing website before, And then she said, I want to keep all this information, but I want to put it in like a new branded kind of thing. So it just feels like a couple of websites all kind of,
Yeah, I agree. It feels very mixed matched on the style.
yeah. But yeah, so I would say like I'd like it to not be sort of really verbose and banging on like this one. I'd like it to be
Yeah.
I'd like it to be a bit cleaner, because I just think you lose people. And as long as it's quite graphic, and you see those, the pictures of the green, or the potentially the pictures of a celebrity, showing them in their palette and in their completely not their palette kind of thing, and the case studies. Yeah, I did like less rather than more, I would think. But
Yeah.
I'll get cracking on that soon. I started on it last weekend, but I've still just had this head cold thing. It's finally gone now, but the lurgy that I had
Yeah, it does linger. Like
it really does. It was a good 12 days thing for me, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very potent this year. I must say, like everyone I know has come down with some sort of like cough, like flu. Like everyone's just got it. I've been trying to dodge it as much as I can.
I know. Well done, you. Well done, you. And then one of the other things, just to really, one thing that I have to kind of, say this as much for me as for you, but one thing I really have to always kind of rein myself in about as I start getting, completely distracted with like all these different things that I want to do on the website. And then I kind of have to bring myself back and go, do you know what, Lisa, the name of the brand is Style Capital. And you really need to stick with that. Like, it is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your closet. Your closet is like your portfolio, like that. It really has that kind of business angle and also that style angle. So I need to make sure that I have a page on there, that talks about, one thing I was just writing down this morning is, style is an investment, and it has a context like any investment. If you want to go buy, I don't know, Apple shares, it has a context. The market is doing this. Interest rates are doing that. The political landscape is doing this. Its competitors are doing that. The price of the overall market is doing this. Like, there's a context that stock lives in, and your own style has a context of like, not only what is your own personal style, but like what can you wear to work. If you're a barrister, you can wear something very different than if you are creative. So you still have a context that you have to adhere to. And I don't want to go into like a whole long diatribe like that on the website, but I just want to make sure that I kind of keep that in there, so that the name Style Capital, and that the photo that we have in there that has kind of the background of each of those elements, that it kind of still makes sense, basically, that it still stays on brand.
I agree. I think that actually, I think a very potent section on the homepage, in that you have a section there, and your tagline could be your style is an investment, or wordplay that. Yeah. And you really break down 3 key reasons why your style is your investment. And you mentioned an example that you gave to me about the news crew coming into the office, and that lady was dressing for the job that she wanted, and boom, opportunity came, and she had that. So that's another benefit for investing in your style. Like, and so I think it'd be really, really potent to break down why your style is an investment. And we can build that out into a section, because ultimately you're coming from a finance game, in that you understand numbers, you understand investments, and you're merging that with the concept that your style is an investment by itself. And I think that's an angle I don't think many people are going to take. I think a lot of people, when they think of style, they just think of like spending their spare money to look better. Like, they don't think of the net gain of looking better. And I think it's really important for us, especially if we're going to play into that whole like shot from the hills, where you've got one foot in the investment world, one foot in the style world. I think that's a really powerful narrative that we can build on the website.
Yeah, because it's always been, I read a quote a couple of months ago that said something like, sometimes the thing that holds you back is like your biggest selling point, is your USP. And I think sometimes, the fact that I'm not like, I don't know, a fashion designer, I'm not in the world of fashion, I'm not a fashion editor, you always feel like, oh, well, do I really have a place here? And then in finance, because I'm not like running my own hedge fund or heading a bank, sometimes you also are like, well, do I really have a place here? But the fact that, you have this blend, or I have this blend of both.
Makes your place.
Exactly. It makes its own place. And that is kind of my USP. And there are a lot of people that, have that. They may have, another idea that I was thinking about the other day is just this whole concept that, like, let me see where I have this. On my About Me page, I was kind of trying to think about how I would structure this. And I was thinking about, for me, I sometimes feel like, I don't know if you had these when you were a kid, but I had these like little paper kaleidoscopes with like little different color plastic chips.
Yeah.
Every time you hold them
that.
up to the light and you turn them, you see one thing, and then you just turn it ever so slightly, and the patterns and the colors completely change. And so the one thing I was thinking the other day is, I think I'm particularly sort of kaleidoscopic, and that, I have this whole, with one turn, it's very, very much, fashion and all that's in focus. With another turn, really the thing that takes your eye and that you pay attention to is the whole, finance part of it. But then I'm also a mother. If my kid gets sick, I don't care about fashion and I don't care about the markets. I care about my kid getting better. I think that a lot of women, feel that and resonate with that, is that, you have a lot of these elements, you bring all of these elements together. We all are different people on different days, and you have to have that style that carries you through that. I'm not going to go to my son's school play or go to like a sports day wearing what I wear to the office. And so I think, again, that like being able to tailor things for the kaleidoscope that you are, and the many different things, the many different roles that you have to play. And there's this Walt Whitman quote that, says like, sometimes I contradict myself, I contain multitudes. And I think that, something on the About Me page that would really resonate with a lot of people is exactly that, because we all do so many different things and have a lot of different, constraints and responsibilities. And, I just think it would be a good thing to kind of bring some of that in somehow.
Okay. Just on that quote thing, just for the About page, do you have any, again, it might sound a bit obscure, but do you have any of your own sayings or quotes that you've maybe coined that you think are particularly relevant to this business? Anything in particular that you say? 'Cause I know obviously you just quote Walt Whitman, but anything from yourself?
I'll think about it. I mean, on my old blog, I used to like, no one has a bad day in sequence, or it's impossible to have a bad day in sequence.
Yeah, I like
it's
that
a
one,
little
to be
bit
fair.
less relevant for this website. But I do think, something like that kind of encompasses the style and the investment element, that like style is a currency. There's an old, I think it was Lauren Hutton or somebody who said like beauty is a currency. And I don't necessarily think, when you go to another country and, you lose your wallet, if you're like a nice and unattractive person and you walk up to somebody, you don't speak the language, and you ask for help, someone is going to help you. Like people are probably more inclined
to help.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really want to play at all off of that beauty angle, but I do like the idea of, style being a currency as well. It gives you legitimacy. It gives you things that you might not have if you didn't have it. And the best example of that is the two women that I was explaining at Barclays, my two friends, one who's very stylish and one who isn't. And, the one who has style as her currency is the one that's been promoted and been on, media trained and all of that. So I think, style as a currency is possible, but let me think about that.
Yeah, I think, again, this is probably a terrible idea by me, but it just came into my mind when I was thinking like finance related quotation, and also playing off your name, where you can always be like, your style with your working capital, because that ties in style and capital. It ties in the phrase that you're saying there. Working capital is obviously a business phrase, so that's kind of like from the finance world, but most people understand what working capital is. And you can leverage that, like it is your working capital, because if you're stylish, you're going to get places, going to open doors. Again, that was thought of in 30 seconds, so probably needs a bit of work, but I was just thinking, like, I think that really ties in potentially.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident I know where we're at now, but I'd say if we were to just do a quick fire do's and don'ts, if we were to say quick fire don'ts, things you absolutely, if I showed it to you, you'd log off of Zoom. What would those top 5 be? If you used to see them, you'd run a mile.
Oh, gosh, good question. I can't think of anything outside like some of the websites that I've sent you that I think look, very dated or very style free, or that look, too chaotic. I definitely don't want anything multicolored, like the Instagram that I showed you of Red Leopard. I just think that's an absolute dog's breakfast. I don't want anything that's kind of, multicolored and messy. I want everything to be super tidy. I don't, I don't want anything like at all cutesy. And I don't want anything that just feels like really wet, anything like all like super emotional and I don't want anything like that. Like those things would definitely make me like navigate away from a page, or like just kind of try like in a lot of these sites, even this Created Colorful one, like I really like her, I'll follow her on Instagram or whatever, but when I just go to her website, I sometimes they feel very self-promotional, and it's a really hard line to walk between being self-promotional and like promoting yourself. Like you want to be an expert, but you also don't want want to be like, and another thing, I'm also very good at this, and like, as people are walking out the door, wait, I haven't finished talking about myself yet. I don't want that that thing. I really, like I said, the Sequinist was really very much about me. I really want this to be very much about like what I can do for a client. It's less about me and what I can do, if that makes any sense.
Okay. And yeah, I think
the one last thing, and I just definitely want to have like some little bit of wow factor. When I go to almost all of these websites that I gave you, I don't look at that website and go, wow, that's cool. Whereas like with that Loewe one that I showed you, even though it's a bit gimmicky and quirky and it's a games thing and maybe not what I want to do, I still say, wow, and I'm like, I like this sort of, suspended, slightly moving thing. With the, it's funny, they must have changed what they used to have on the David White one is your mouse and the cursor was almost like a wiper. So it was like as you moved around on the page, the season would change slightly. So it would go from like autumn to spring, and it would go from like kind of being very hazy, almost like the sun came out, and then like everything would brighten up. And again, it's a gimmick and it doesn't really apply to me, but it still has that like little bit of wow factor. So I just want there to be a little bit of a wow factor on there. Not like, when you go to the Red Leopard website, it's just a bunch of pictures of some ladies standing in a room with drapes and, and a logo at the top. And I don't want that.
You want something quirky and different without it coming across like chaotic.
100%. Yeah, that.
So just to give me an idea, I mean, this probably isn't right for you, but let me just show you this. That makes sense. So we've got this client, okay, they're a videographer for the art gallery space. So they do lots of art world. And because they're a videographer, one thing that we do is if you see where your mouse goes, it's like a spotlight.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like it's tying into the video world where it's like a spotlight.
I see. Yeah.
So it's a minor thing like that. Something like that, would that be too minor for you, or would you want it to be a bit more impactful, or is that okay in terms of like the quirkiness?
I think that's okay. I wouldn't mind that plus something else, which is why, again, thinking out loud, I wouldn't mind, like, let's say that was a tiny little star or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, magic wand or whatever. We have something there. If you have like the landing page be something like that Loewe one that just has like the logo, slightly suspended or looking like it's moving or looking like it's in the way. It's hard to say because it doesn't really tie in very well with Style Capital. That's the thing. It doesn't feel very finance and banking. I don't know. But just something like that. Maybe it would just be, having Style Capital on the main thing and maybe having a sweep across it that it looks like it's metallic, or it looks like it's been turned slightly and it's metallic, that sort of effect. I don't know.
What, again, just throwing ideas out there. With this David White, you see it's the script and it does that underline. With
Hmm.
you, where the North Star is particularly important, what if the star was like lighting up and it illuminates the screen? So you know when you get a bright light in your face, it goes all
Yeah,
white. So
yeah,
you can always have it like it illuminates, goes all white, and then the website loads in.
yeah, yeah,
Would that be
exactly.
creative enough?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. Again, this is just off the top of my head. So when we
Yeah,
actually sit down and go through this, we'll probably have a few better ideas than that. But I'm just
yeah,
trying to bounce ideas off it to kind of like suss you out a little bit to see what
yeah,
feels good, what doesn't.
yeah.
Um, okay, okay, that's cool. Um, yeah, I'm very happy with where we're at. Um, yeah. Oh, the final question, just on the sequence. Um, we mentioned about using potentially more, going more towards the light sequence, obviously for the sequenist. Are you looking to have a clear distinction between brands? Because I know you mentioned at the start how like
Yeah,
Sequinist doesn't really feel like it's right for this industry.
yeah,
So we wouldn't want there to be any affiliation between the brands.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think so. I mean, when I've done work with Red Leopard, I'm always like the sequinist at Red Leopard, just
Okay.
because I'm sort of known as that just as much. But I think I think I'd rather keep it a bit separate.
Hmm.
Maybe on my About Me page, as one of the things I talk about, that I work for the world's biggest listed hedge fund, but I also used to have an award-winning blog
Yeah.
called The Sequinist. Maybe there could
Okay.
be a link to it, but I don't really want it to be much more than a
Yeah.
nod.
Makes sense.
Just
And
you
just
know.
on the link things, in terms of the SEO component to the Sequinist, are you looking to keep that website like thriving? You don't want to lose any SEO potential there, or are you open to directing some of that over to the new website where we want to transact on? Or
Oh, I'd much rather have it to the new website for sure.
okay, because what we can do is we can link from the Sequinist over to Style Capital, where we build out like a minor section on the Sequinist that's all about how like the styling business is Style Capital, and
Hmm.
then that would then shift some of that authority that you've gained over there over
Yeah,
to Style Capital, and then
yeah,
within your about page, what we'll do is mention that you were the lead editor at Sequinist, owner,
yeah,
founder, and
yeah.
then that way Google picks it up, makes that connection without you having to link over to the Sequinist.
Oh, I see. Got
So
you. Yeah,
you'd retain all the benefit on Style Capital.
yeah. Sounds good. And I think I also will, even though I haven't put a blog post up in ages and years, I'll and I still have a mailing list and all that. So and I still want to drive traffic to this new website. So I will probably do a blog post anyway on the Sequinist that just mentions what I'm doing now, talks about Style Capital, invites people to go and check it out. It will
Yeah.
go out to the mailing list, that kind of thing, so that people will kind of start to see something there.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm really happy with all my notes. I think what I'd like to do is to schedule our meeting now that we've brought branding forward. Is schedule our meeting. Let me check the calendar. What's that? So 31st, because we'll have branding done by 30th. I think you said you work from home on the 31st, so that way I can share my screen.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
good. Yeah, Wednesdays and Fridays are, you have me all day
okay,
those days
perfect.
if you want. So
So
any of
let me
that.
check my calendar. So Friday, and what we can do then is we can go through initial homepage designs and initial branding concepts as well on that.
Okay.
So let me pull up my calendar. So Friday 31st, I'm free all day apart from 1 till 2 p.m. at the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, whenever works best for you.
Let me just have a look. Yeah, so I should be moving in on the 24th. So the 31st. Ugh, the 31st, the only thing I have is a 3 o'clock. So maybe let's try to do something morningish.
Yeah, if we say 11 a.m., would that work for you?
Yeah, 11 sounds good.
Yep, 11 a.m. Okay, brilliant. And that'll be to walk through the first homepage concept and then the initial branding concepts with our homepages. We always say this is probably only 50–60% of what you're looking for.
Okay.
So be prepared to just be as brutally honest as possible
Okay.
and
I'm
say,
good at
no,
that.
can't stand that, can't stand that. And
Yeah.
just really try to tear them down, because what
Okay.
that's going to allow us to do is get all of that feedback. Because by destroying those designs, we get to find out truly what you want.
Yeah.
And then from there, we then take that and we'll make the final homepage design based on that. So yeah, be as brutally honest as possible. It's all
For sure.
helpful. Don't be polite.
Okay. Good.
And then we'll do exactly the same for the branding concept. And yeah, feel very, very confident, that happy that we've managed to bring the timeline forward.
I love that. That's so good because honestly, I was a little bit like, oh, like I love the fact that we're doing it faster, but it seems a bit weird to be doing the branding after we've like got the website up and running. So I'm pleased that it's kind of swapped around. It feels a little bit more natural that way.
Yeah, that is the natural process that we do. Typically, we don't even start the website design until we've done the branding.
Yeah.
But with how things are with your branding, because you're pretty sure around what font that you want and the overall color scheme that you want, we already have a kind of direction, so we can actually crack on with the website design.
Yeah.
But now we're just going to be able to dial in the website design a lot sooner, which is great. So yeah, we should have website design and branding wrapped up within the first 4 weeks. And then we've got another 4 to 5 weeks for development, social kits, and all of that good stuff as well. So yeah, everything is now ahead of schedule, so even better than originally planned.
Excellent. That's so great. I'm so pleased. I'm really thrilled about that. That's great.
Yeah, it was a result. So yeah, we moved you forward, and yeah, I'm glad that we finished the other project slightly early, because yeah, it just made this, it's going to run a lot smoother. So I'm happy with that.
Excellent. That sounds great.
So yeah, leave it with me. Let us get to work on that. And then I'll send you the meeting invite across for 11 a.m. on the 31st, and we'll go through everything there. And yeah, that's everything from me.
I feel like I'm in very, very capable hands. It's a nice feeling.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. But listen,
after I met you, I didn't even speak to any other companies. I was like, this is where I belong. And I'm pleased really pleased we were able to get the time scale sorted out.
Yeah, me too. But listen, I appreciate your kind words, but enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds grand. Thank you so much.
All right, Lisa. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye, Sandy.
Bye-bye.